Hello and welcome. We're Femme Noir. This show is all about women, specifically in film. We are going to review and analyze movies that are written by, directed by, or starring women, and we can't wait for you to join us. Tune in and listen wherever you listen to podcasts. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Femme Noir Podcast. We have 3 hosts again. So I'm Victoria.
I'm Serena.
And I'm Whitney.
And this week is really special. So in addition to all 3 of us hosts, we're going to have a guest on later on, a filmmaker who wrote and directed the film Cohabitation, which is free to watch on Tubi, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Cut that out. But first we're going to start. So we switched up our formatting for this season. So we're going to start off by talking about just like latest gossip, trends, movies that are coming out. Then we'll go into things that we're excited to see or things that we've seen recently that we really liked. Then for this episode, we're just going to dive in and talk with the filmmaker, ask her questions. Get a little insider perspective on the makings of the movie. And I think that'll be it for this episode. We're not going to do FMF like we normally do. We're not going to like give recommendations and that kind of stuff. I think because it would be just a super long episode. But we were having a discussion beforehand already about Black Panther. And so that is the first movie I wanted to talk about because it's been trending and supposedly really good. I mean, you guys both saw it, but I haven't seen it yet. So,
Yep.
But I wanted to read because I know you weren't trying to spoil it. I'm not too big on spoilers. Like, I don't really care. My friend Aaliyah saw it and put on Letterboxd her review, and she marked it as spoilers. I was like, fuck it, I'll just read it. But she said, she didn't give it a star rating, but she said, I'm excited for Ironheart and more representation. I was a little annoyed at the Black and Brown communities fighting. Meanwhile, the American government is sitting out plotting their continued efforts in being the problem. And I was like, that's really interesting. I had no idea, like, America was even in this movie. Like, last time it was pretty contained. So I was like, whoa, that's kind of intense. So yeah, I don't know how that's a spoiler, but I was like, ooh, that's an interesting thing to look out for when I watch it.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of a spoiler, but like I feel like if you literally watch the trailer, like there's obviously another person, like other than the Wakandans that is in the movie.
The guy with his dick, that guy?
The who?
No. Have you guys oh god. Have you guys not seen how they green screen that guy's dick out?
No.
He's like really hot. I don't know. He's like the water guy.
He's very pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. On
His acting's
Twitter.
insane.
What is it?
His acting is great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know who that guy is. He's really hot. But on Twitter, it was like going around because there's like behind the scenes photos and he's wearing like green pants, right? But his bulge is like huge. And in the movie, it's like flat. So they have to like edit it
That's
down.
so funny. Wow.
I should send you guys or I'll put it in the server too, but I'll send you guys the picture.
I did not know. I did not. I wasn't looking.
Yeah.
That's
I had no clue that they had to do that.
Yeah, right.
good for him.
Oh my god. I know, right? That's a good one to have.
Hilarious. Yeah. Well, yeah, that guy is basically like the king of his people, and they're like, I think they're Mayan, and like they have a lot of that history in there, which is honestly dope. Like, it's so cool. And like, yeah, I guess there's like a little bit like it's the same kind of struggle that is a struggle anywhere, where it's kind of like, hey, we're minority groups and we have to like protect our own, and then there's always the biggest bad that's like, okay, maybe we should fight the biggest bad first, you know? Like,
Yeah.
like, but none of there isn't like hatred. There's no like hatred there between the groups. It's just a literal. It's just like a plot conflict.
Mm. It's hard to like not give spoilers.
Yeah, because at this point, like, yeah, I know that people who are listening probably care more than me.
Probably.
Yeah, and it's still really, it just came out. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
But yeah, overall, like I liked it. I'm gonna see it again just because I saw it um when it came out, just because I was like, oh, I wonder if I can get tickets. Like, LOL, I just happened to be free tonight, and then I did, and I was like, oh, nice. But my family wanted to watch it all together, so I'm gonna see it with them on Thanksgiving.
Aw,
Nice.
yay!
Yeah.
Cute.
I definitely want to see it again. With Marvel movies, I very rarely, like, I will definitely see it multiple times, but I very rarely, like, want to see it multiple times. But this one, like, as soon as I walked out of the theater, I'm like, should I just buy another ticket now?
Wow, is that good? Oh my gosh.
Like, I have my grievances with it, but I can't do that without spoiling it. So
Oh, damn.
once you watch it, we can just do a review.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it
One,
technically fits because I guess this spoiler alert, Shuri and like the Queen are basically the main characters because
Mhm.
T'Challa is no longer with us.
So one of the things that they really wanted to do with this movie was definitely make it more like female focused, which they did, and they did really, really well. So well that like I actually haven't seen a lot of the like male comic book community complaining about it. Because anything that's female oriented or female focused, that's comic book.
It's because they didn't market it as female centric, female
Oh,
focused.
yeah.
So if it's marketed as like feminine, then they're
That's
gonna know.
true.
They're gonna know. If you
Yeah.
don't tell them, they won't know.
But I mean, if you actually really watch the movie, there's like maybe 3 or 4 like main guys.
I would say there's like literally only 3.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
There's Namor, who's the
Black
flying
guy?
like, water god. There's M'Baku, which
Mhm.
everyone loves because he's hilarious. And then their token white guy.
There's a white guy?
Martin Freeman, yeah.
Yeah, he's
Oh, I forgot about
the
him. I
was he
forgot he
FBI or Shield or
exists.
something? I don't remember, but he's like a secret agent. He's
FBI,
the only
CIA.
like, white person in the first movie that's like a main character.
I forgot about that.
His
That's so
American
funny.
accent got better though. I will admit
did.
that.
I honestly was like, this is so weird. When I was listening to it, I was like, because I'm so used to like his Hobbit voice.
Oh,
yeah,
I
you're
forgot he was in
Hobbit.
that. I was thinking Sherlock.
Me too.
Yeah, that
me
too.
That's so funny.
But yeah.
Kind of a non sequitur, but you mentioned, you were like, oh, like it's not marketed as for women, like just don't tell them whatever. I just recently, because I saw like, I don't know if it was a TikTok or YouTube video or whatever, about like why they changed the New Girl intro from like, remember like in the beginning, she was like, it was a whole song and a dance number, and then
Mhm.
season 4, it's just like pictures of the cast and like kind of a catchy jingle.
Yeah.
They changed it because what's her name? The main girl. What's her name? Fuck.
Jess.
Yeah, just I can't
In
remember.
the
actress
song.
name. What happened?
Cohabitation.
Zoe Deschanel. Yeah.
I thought you meant the character's name. I was like, the song is literally "Who's That Girl?" It's Jess. Like that's it.
Zoe Deschanel. She said in an interview that the network said that the original jingle theme song, whatever, was turning off men from the show, and so they were like, we have to
Even
change
though there's
it.
like 2 women in the show.
And I was like, dude, who the fuck, like, if you like the show, watch the show. We don't give a fuck if you don't like the jingle. Like
Like
who's
just
gonna be like,
skip
actually,
it.
this is gonna make me turn, like, that's just crazy. And also the fact that it like made a difference, because I loved the original intro. I thought it was so
Yeah, it
cute
was
and like
adorable.
funny. It was like the perfect show of the dynamic, you know?
Yeah, it was like a perfect representation of what the show's gonna be.
Literally.
That's
And
so
they just changed it because
dumb.
the men were like, it's too girly. Whatever, bro. You're watching New Girl.
That's why
Whatever.
we don't get cool jingles anymore. Just
I
kidding.
know. Men ruin everything. But anyway.
I haven't seen New Girl, but if it was up to me, I'd just get rid of. Well, I do like 10-second intros maximum. I just
Yeah, it's literally she sings "Who's
Controversial.
that girl?" It's Jess. That's it.
really
No, there
okay.
it used to be longer. Do you remember
Yeah,
the
it used to be
long
like
one?
that, but
It's
just
like,
a little bit.
hey, girl.
Oh
Yeah, I liked it.
Hey girl,
What you doing?
I'm so cute.
I liked it. That's
But yeah,
controversial though. I love intros. Like I almost, if it's like a good one, I'll never skip the intro. I'll watch
I
the same
know.
song over and over. Yeah.
Same.
I binge so much TV, and not every show you can just like skip intro. So if I'm like doing a couple hour binge and I'm hearing the intro, 3, 4, 5 times, depending on, what I'm doing,
Mhm.
I'm over it. I hate it.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Sometimes it's just so good that I'm like, I have to watch it. Like, I think
Oh, I
me and my brother were
know.
watching The Politician on Netflix. We were like, dude, this intro, like, not only was it just like really like just the intro was very cool. Like all the cinema and like all the props and like just how they did it was super interesting. And we were like, whoa, this is like super neat. So we would watch it every single time.
Yeah, I did that with like the Marvel Netflix shows, like
Yeah, like
Daredevil and like Jessica.
Daredevil.
The intros were so cool and they were like so moody and it would just get
Yeah,
you like in the mood.
was
Like it
dope.
was perfect and unskippable.
So good.
I think there's only one intro that I've ever really liked, and it was the original Teen Titans on Cartoon
Oh,
Network.
yes,
Yeah.
that's a fact.
Teen Titans.
Yeah, that shit slaps.
When there's trouble, you know.
Okay, well, what
I
have
just
you guys
recently
been-
realized that all of the entirety of the original Teen Titans like cartoon from Cartoon Network is on Hulu. I don't know why I
It
didn't know.
is?
Not Hulu, HBO.
Yeah.
It's on HBO. And like I had no
Oh.
idea. And I was like, are you serious? So then I was watching them because I was like, yeah.
That's good that it's still up there. That it
Yeah, like all of
survived
them.
because they took a lot of like kids cartoons down.
Yeah, they
I don't know
did.
if I would
Once.
consider that one a kid's cartoon anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, like the Teen Titans Go maybe, but the regular Teen Titans?
Yeah.
Is it like kids if it's like older, I guess, older kids? Because at the time it was targeted, but like everyone that like watches it is our age.
Yeah, because it's like
Like it's purely for
nostalgia.
nostalgia.
Yeah. But like,
Yeah.
little kids could watch
Or
it.
like forcing other kids to watch it because we're like, you need to know what good TV is.
Literally, yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Speaking of good TV for kids, the third season of Dragon Prince finally came out, and I am literally so psyched. I have been waiting until my brother and sister don't have COVID anymore so that I can go over and watch the whole season.
You both have COVID right now.
My family got COVID, but I don't live with them. So, like, they got it,
oh my
and I didn't.
God.
So I've just been like waiting. I'm like, come on, you guys, be better so that I can freaking watch the show because it's driving me insane. I waited so long for this.
Whoa.
That show is absolutely amazing.
Dang.
I will
I hope
force
your
every
family's
child
okay.
I ever have to babysit to watch The Dragon Prince.
You guys can just
It's
watch
so
them.
good.
Don't they have like shit? You can watch it on like Discord or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
Digital movie night.
It's
Yeah.
so good. So good. So yeah.
Okay, I was
that's-
just wondering
that's
what you
fun.
guys have been watching
I
recently.
also watched the entirety of The English, which is on this is actually kind of funny. Not the story, but just my thoughts while watching it. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's Emily Blunt, and I literally can't remember his name because I was like watching the show, and I was like, this guy literally looks so familiar. Who is this guy? And so I think it was like Chaucer Spencer, Chaucer.
I don't know who that is. It's a British guy.
No, because
Oh.
so basically it's Emily. It's a Western, and it's Emily Blunt
Oh.
and a Native American guy, and they basically end up crossing paths, and then both of their paths end up being like intertwined to like the same like focal point of each of their like vengeance. So they're both trying to exact their vengeance, and they're like, wait, both of our like revenge targets are connected, like work together. And so they work together, and it's great. It is such a good
that.
like it's such a good Western too. Oh my goodness.
Wait,
But
is this a movie or a TV show?
TV show, but it's
Oh.
only like 8 episodes. Like I
Oh,
watched the
it-
whole thing.
It sounds
In a day.
similar to a movie. I just can't, that I know, like there's a movie that sounds similar to that, should I say. I can't remember the title. but it sounds like a movie, so I thought I might have known what you were talking about.
Oh yeah. So I'm watching it and I'm like, this guy looks so familiar. Like, who is he? And so like I look him up on like the IMDb and it's like Chesky Spencer. I'm like, dude, literally, what was he in? Because he looks so familiar. And like, of course, my first reaction was like, oh my God, he's so pretty. And then I realized that he's the guy that plays Sam in the Twilight movies. Basically, like
The dad?
the like chief wolf.
What
And I was
the
like,
heck?
stop, you're joking. One,
Fucking
I did not know he was
busy.
actually indigenous. Like, I did not know that.
Oh,
And
he is
then,
actually?
yeah, he is. I was
Good
like,
for
oh.
him.
Because I don't know, for some reason I thought Twilight was
All
like,
white people, yeah.
yeah, like I thought
Yeah.
they were all like Taylor Lautner, you know, where they're like, oh,
They're
wait.
kind of brown looking. Yeah, they're brown.
Yeah, they're like,
looking. Yeah.
No, I think it because of Taylor Lautner, they tried to be more diverse after they got like a little bit of kickback.
Did they really?
I mean, this is stretching my memory, but I want to say, yeah, when because the first movie happened, the first one that he was in, and that must have been the first movie.
Yeah, he's in the.
But
first one,
he,
for sure.
yeah, he was in it, and people were upset that they didn't actually use an indigenous actor. And so they
yeah,
considered
I would be
recasting
too.
him. Well, they considered recasting him partially because of that and the fact that they didn't think he could bulk up enough, post transformation. But then I guess he bulked up enough and enough fans liked him that they kept him.
Oh my God, the pretty privilege. It's real.
Wow.
That's
But
crazy.
yeah, every time I watch Twilight and I'm like, oh, he's like the guy that like is in charge of like the wolf pack. Like he's the chief of the pack. Every time I watch it, I always see him in his human form. I'm like, oh, he's so pretty. And I was like, that's so funny that I would have the same exact reaction to him years later in something else and not
I
even
can't
know
believe
it.
you recognized him.
I
That
was
is
like, this guy looks so
crazy.
familiar. It was bothering me so much. But yeah, so that's fun. And he's doing a great job. He's still acting great. He did great in this show. The English, it's pretty good. I would definitely recommend. And then I guess speaking of Taylor Lautner, did y'all hear about his marriage to
Yeah.
Taylor Lautner?
I think it's sweet. I think they're so cute.
Wait, hold on, fill me in.
So Taylor Lautner was dating this girl named Taylor Dome, which I just think is funny because this is now the second person like in the realm of like just like influencer celebrity culture named Taylor that he has dated like publicly, and I just think that's funny. But not only that, they recently like got married, and her name was Taylor Dome. And she decided to take his last name, so they're both just Taylor Lautner.
I think it's cute.
It is cute. It is cute.
It's just
I'm
But
happy for them.
I think it's so funny that just like, oh, all the news that we're getting recently is just like, oh yeah, also Taylor Lautner now has a wife whose name is also Taylor Lautner.
That's how he's staying relevant right now because I don't know what the fuck he's been in a hot second.
Yeah, that's good.
He's begging the paparazzi to take pictures of him. At the wedding.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like so random. Like a random piece of news, but that's cool.
Yeah, I did see
Random.
that.
I was like, that's
does
so
he
funny.
does he still act? Because I
don't
know
know.
like after Twilight he had a handful of movies and then I just never heard about him again.
I could
Yeah,
look
me
him up
neither.
right now.
I know he did that one parkour movie. Where he, I think he just does parkour. I don't know.
I know he was in like an action movie and the poster was him with his shirt off and people kept making jokes about how he's like contractually obligated to take his shirt off in
Well, I
his
mean, if
movies.
people didn't think that I could bulk up and be that big, you know, I'd probably write it into my contract. Like, hey, guess what? You remember what you said about me? Just rip your shirt off. May as well.
Yeah.
I worked hard for it.
He's been in a couple things. He was in a couple movies. Home Team, Run the Tide, Ridiculous Six. But then it says he was a main role in Scream Queens. I never watched
Was
it.
he?
and a show called Cuckoo. I don't know. I haven't seen those. Oops.
I swear I watched Scream Queens, but I don't remember him in it.
He was in there.
Huh. I remember Nick Jonas.
Yeah, they had a lot of celebrities, like random. Young,
oh yeah, and I think Ariana Grande
like
was in
nostalgia celebrities.
it too. Yeah,
Emma
right.
Roberts. And...
I almost rewatched that recently because I was like, because of like Halloween and everything. I was like, what if I just like watch this? But then I didn't. I watched the Midnight Club instead.
I don't know what that is. Would you recommend
It's amazing.
Yeah. Is it a movie?
It's TV. It's Mike Flanagan though, who also does movies. He did Hush and Oculus, movie-wise. But he did like The Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, and this was his next one, which is based off of a book, and he's done it. I think they co-run the show with another woman, and it's pretty neat. I like the way he tells horror because he does like the like horror as a way to like explore like feelings and trauma, and it's just like super interesting to me every time. But this one's really good. I liked it.
Anything that you've seen, Whitney, lately that you like?
Netflix's Wendell and Wild.
Oh yes, Peele. It was so good.
It was. I really liked it. It was a little bit darker than I thought it would be, just with her, without trying to spoil too much, with her tragic backstory. But also I'm not surprised considering who directed it. So I really like that. That was good. I'm binging Manifest right now, which is okay.
What is that?
It's basically like this plane disappears for 5 years and it comes back just randomly, and everyone who was on the plane like hasn't aged at all. Like they didn't even know they disappeared for 5 years. Yeah. And so then you know, weird stuff starts happening, and there's a whole mystery surrounding why the plane disappeared and whatnot. But once I finish that, I'm going to start the series that I'm really interested in, and that's going to be Wednesday.
Oh yeah!
Oh my god, I know. Fucking Jenna Ortega. She is such a queen.
That's gonna be dope.
I can't wait to see her in that.
Mm-hmm. So that's the one. That's the show that I'm really looking forward to.
The Sex Life of College Girls came out the next season. There's only 2 episodes out right now, but they do like I think it's a Friday or Thursday release. I can't remember. But yeah, that season 2 finally dropped.
Nice.
Mindy Kaling produced, and it's so funny. Like, I love this show. I think it's great. Y'all should watch it. It's a good, like, easy watch too. You know?
Yeah, it's like just like relaxed comedy.
Yeah. I mean,
I think I've seen like the first 2 episodes, and I liked it, but then I like ended up watching something else, and that took up more of my time, and then I forgot to go back.
Yeah, like it's because I think aren't the episodes like shorter too?
I love that, like a half hour. Oh, perfect.
I think I remember to that. Yeah, and if they aren't, then it definitely feels like it. But like, yeah, it's a cute show. Like, I think that like all the characters are fun. The representation's definitely there. Like, and like the storylines that they talk about are definitely like timely, and like they don't shy away from topics, but they do it in a way where it doesn't feel like overwhelming or like all encompassing, you know? So it's like you can watch it and not feel dumb, but also not have a bad time.
The only thing I've seen that I would want to mention, I tried to watch The Bear and I couldn't get into it.
I couldn't finish it.
Yeah, I watched like 4
Is that the one with the guy in the kitchen?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, the premise seemed really interesting, but I was just kind of like what's the story here? It's like it's kind of slow moving.
I watched a trailer and it just didn't grab my interest.
It was just kind of like clunky. It was kind of awkward. I felt like the acting was kind of like, and then Yeah, it was like so, I think, steeped in the concept. Like
I'm like
and that one
4
was interesting
episodes
because
in and I still don't know what it's about.
yeah, and it was like interesting because that one's also it's like 22-minute episodes, and so it's like
Are
it's
they really
really
that?
short.
Those episodes feel
Yeah,
long. They feel long, yeah.
I felt like they were short because I'm like the whole episode like went by so quickly, you know, like they're not like you said there's the story isn't developing very fast.
Yeah, there's
It's kind
not
of just
much
like things are
happening.
happening, but there's not really like
There's no
tie-in.
progression of a plot. Like,
Yeah. It's
but
like
like they
really
keep
interesting.
acting and talking in the movie or like in the show as if there
Yeah.
is one.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. Like I don't know. I'm so confused.
Yeah. And I was just so interested because, and honestly, if they paid those people on Twitter, then like Godspeed to all those people because it worked. But I watched it because everyone on Twitter was talking about it and like posting about it and like memes about it or whatever. And I was like, this looks really good. So I'll watch it. Like, I can't, they must have fucking paid those people. Like, their propaganda worked. I watched
I think
it.
it got an award for something.
Oh,
Yeah,
did
I think it
it?
did.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just don't know for what.
I can't remember.
Okay. For this episode, we have a very special guest, writer and director of Cohabitation. Lauren Barker is here to talk about her film. Would you like to introduce yourself, Lauren?
Yeah. Me on, guys. My name's Lauren Barker. I'm the writer, director, producer of Cohabitation and some other short films. But this is my first feature film that I made and just got distributed.
Yay.
Yay.
You did it.
And when you say distribution, where is it being distributed through and where can it be watched?
So it got distribution through Indie Rights, and it is streaming on Amazon, Google Play, Tubi, and YouTube.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Amazing. Well, it's so awesome that you reached out because we're so happy to have you on. I had a couple of questions just kind of based like to get to know you a little better. I was kind of wondering what your personal filmic inspirations are. There's like certain movies or even people that inspire you.
Definitely. Some of my top films, I really love The Shawshank Redemption, and I have for a long time. I also really like Psycho by Alfred Hitchcock. And then there's most recently Celine Sciamma's Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
Yes.
Film, and also after I saw that, I watched all of her previous films. So I really like her work as a director.
Girlhood is so good.
Yeah, Girlhood's amazing. Everything she's done is really great. And as far as people, I mean, I love Jordan Peele. I really like Celine Sciamma, as I mentioned. Ava DuVernay has done some great work. Those are some of my top ones.
Nice.
That's great. Okay, that's like kind of a
Love their
range
ex.
I've noticed. Like you kind of you like horror, but you also like drama and stuff. In Cohabitation, I noticed there was a lot of like different elements of different genres. So it does go from drama to being kind of a thriller to more of a horror. I was wondering if that was intentional, and also like what is the draw for you to horror?
Yeah, I mean, originally when I started writing just in general, I was always more drawn to just drama and things without the horror elements. And I got into this script and it kind of made sense that, the thriller elements just kind of were naturally a part of it and made more sense. And so I started writing that, and it's always really exciting to write. I found that with Fire, when you've got that thriller thing going on and certain scenes, especially, it's like I'm just like typing as fast as I can, just like let's the next thing, because it's like so exciting. So I really like that, and I think the draw for me, it's always now that I've done it, I think I'm more drawn to horror having done it, and the draw is just that excitement, and also that thing where you can kind of get out of just like normal life and thinking about, okay, what if this weird thing happened and it seemed. So yeah, now that I've done it, I have a lot more horror ideas, which is exciting. But I also have some just quote unquote regular dramas. So yeah, to answer your initial question, I mean, thriller and horror, they kind of like lend themselves more toward drama. I mean, there are the rare out there, and I think that that has to be like I think these that can go together really well, but it has to be really carefully done, and I think it's a lot harder to do that mixture. Whereas horror and drama, there's just kind of a natural like mix of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna lie, I think when I first read the description of it, I was like, oh, okay, this seems like it might be one of those like a little bit more like Hill Housey, if that makes sense. Like how kind of Mike Flanagan will take like trauma and make the trauma like manifestations, the like horror element. And so I was like super, super surprised when the 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 character actually killed the guy, and I was like, oh, okay.
She's
Yeah.
real.
Oh, like that
Yeah.
actually got me.
Yeah.
I was down for it though.
You know
That was
what?
cool.
Speaking of that character, I kind of noticed, and I don't know if this was intentional, but like the obsession that Sarah had with Emily, I was like, it's kind of like romantic. And like, it's kind of like there's something like between them that felt like kind of like it was, I don't know, like if there was a third dimension and it wasn't just malicious. It kind of felt like she was like attracted. But I don't know if that was like, if that maybe I'm picking up on something that's not even there.
Am I
That
projecting?
Yeah, that was not my intention. I did have a couple people when I was writing this. I started writing this in film school, and so there were a couple of classmates that kind of brought that up and were kind of like either picking up on that or they're kind of suggesting I go deeper into that. The reason I didn't want to, and the reason I kind of wanted to steer away from that. I think the queer community has often had to deal with that issue of homophobia, where people think that like that like gay obsession. That I kind of wanted to steer away from that and try to make it like keep that out of it. But I know that it is kind of ambiguous because I understand why some people might think that way and see it, because it is such a deep obsession. So, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely makes sense.
So it sounds like you were saying earlier too that it almost sounds like you're going to be creating possibly more horror films. So can we expect more along this type of movie? Are you going to go kind of more drama? What's kind of coming up for you?
It kind of depends. Like right now I'm in the process of developing a bunch of stories. And we'll just kind of see what ends up getting made first. Like I'm going to kind of, once I have some screenplays that are ready and in good shape, I'm going to look at trying to get a representation, like a manager or something, an agent, and then going from there, get something sold, or ideally try to find producers or investors and try to get something made independently on a bigger scale than Cohabitation. But currently I'm working on some dramas, and but I do have a short film that I just filmed that's thriller genre. So
that's fun.
Nice. So you've definitely got stuff coming up, and we need to keep our eye out for it.
Exactly.
Perfect.
I was wondering if there was, or if you find there to be a different set of skills that you have to tap into when you're directing versus writing, and then you mentioned producing as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, they can, in some ways, they can go hand in hand because they're all kind of creative and you're creating a story. But they are really different. I think ultimately, I studied writing and I really started off as a writer, and screenwriting was the beginning of it for me. And so that comes naturally is because I've had so much practice at it. I've been doing it for over 10 years. So, writing is something I really like, even though there are times when it's hard and times when I have to like work to get myself to concentrate and to get stories started and stuff like that. But yeah, writing is really exciting to me. It's really interesting. And like I said, just more natural. And so when it comes to directing, that's something I had more to learn about, and I'm still learning about. I feel like it's like the more you learn, the less you know. And I feel like that way about directing, especially because now that I've made a feature, I'm like, wow, there's so much I don't know about this. So there's just a lot more to learn. So directing, yeah, there's a lot more. I mean, it's a lot more visual. So you have to be thinking about, because as a writer, you're writing it out like this is what happens and you're describing what's happening visually. But as a director, you have to like execute that and figure out what's going to be most visually appealing, how you want to frame things, how, you know, like how close you want the shots to the actors, and how many shots you want, like how much editing is going to be involved, what kind of establishing shots you want. Of course, you're also working with actors as the director, and so you have to think about the best way to communicate with them to bring out their best performance, while also giving them choice that they need to make as an actor. And so you're not just like directly telling them exactly what to do, because that's too stifling for them. So it's figuring out, you know, that balance and that collaboration, which is definitely a delicate balance and something I'm still learning. And the more you do it, the more practice you get, the better you get at it. But yeah, those are the biggest things as a director. And ultimately, you have your hand in everything. So you're answering questions about the set design and the costumes and the just everything that's going on, you know, lighting, obviously, like, yeah, just everything. Everyone's always asking you questions. And so it's something that you just have to like get used to and work through. But yeah, I think so for me, directing, I really like it, and but it's definitely comes. It's a little more challenging for me, but in a good way. But it is more something I have to like work on and think about a lot more. And when it comes to producing, same thing. I mean, I would prefer not to produce as much. It's more like I've done it out of necessity. But I've also learned, I mean, there are some things I like about it, and I have learned a lot doing it. You know, reaching out to people, bringing a crew together, that can be really exciting, and finding locations and all of that. And, you know, like seeing the shoot come together out of nothing, basically, can be really exciting. There are cool parts to it. There's just a lot of other stuff like budgeting and fundraising and stuff that I have done, but I would rather not have to do it going forward. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it is all different skills, but in some ways they go hand in hand too.
So on the, I guess, topic of the producing side, how did you end up going about that with this film? Because I know you said you filmed it in 2018 in Wisconsin. And so I think I did end up, I've worked with a professor and gone through a bunch of like different classes where they talked about a bunch of different types, kind of like they just threw everything at you of like strategies on how to get your film like to distributors, the festival route, etc. So I was wondering like which avenues you went to, which ones you tried, and which ones you may like more than others.
You mean for funding or for festivals, or both, or something?
Both.
Yeah. So,
in whatever order you want.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when it came to funding, I started out, I did apply for some grants, which I ended up not getting. Sure, I think what I learned from that is I'd probably try to team up with someone, or kind of work with someone that has more experience with applying for those and writing those proposals and things, because I feel like that's not quite my forte. But I tried some grants, didn't get them. Ultimately, we did crowd budget. So we did that on Seed and Spark, and you know, got my crew together. I was mainly the one, like, the driving force behind that. I did have some casting crew that were helping a little bit, but it was mostly me doing all of that outreach and social media posting and everything to get us to our goal. And then we did have a small investment, and so our total budget was about $25,000, all said and done. Okay. And then when it came to festivals, it was the same thing. Like I was just researching and trying to find a mix of What I try to do is find a mixture of festivals that are local, so wherever you're from. So for me, it was Wisconsin at the time, because people are going to be excited to see the work of people that they know. So I wanted to try to get into some there. So I look for those, and then I look for national, like things in other states around the country. And then I look for international as well. And then you've also got, like, in that same category, I would say, is things like women's festivals, because I'm a female director, those types of things. Any you might fall into, or your film might fall into, for because of the filmmakers. That's kind of how I categorize them, those kind of four things. So it's nice to get a mixture of those. So you've got kind of play in many different areas, and different types of festivals. So that was my strategy. I kind of had a list going, and I also like reached out to some waivers for local festivals and things. I tried to get some festival waivers and stuff like that. So just kind of, hey, I'm a filmmaker from Wisconsin, and this is my film. Would you give me a waiver? And just knowing that, worst thing is that they'll say no, and then you can decide to pay for it or not. Yeah, so that's how I handled festivals too.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting because I've always heard it from like the other side of the festival and like programmer, where they come and talk to you about like, oh yeah, so this is what I do, and I always look for this and this, and I was like, I kind of want to know what it's like from the actual filmmaker side though.
Yeah.
So thank you for indulging me, because I'm like, that's probably going to be me very soon.
Good.
And then I think that the other question was, you did say you got distributed through Indie Rights. That was another kind of thing I wanted to know, like, what was it like from your point of view on like getting a distributor, and like what that process was like?
Yeah, so early on, even before we filmed, I was in this space, like, trying to get this film made and started. So I was kind of like immersing myself in filmmaking as much as I could. I was freelancing as my day job, so I was working as a PA on a bunch of different shoots, and I was also listening to film podcasts as often as I could, and just all that stuff. I was trying to read like different things, and a lot of things. A theme that came up in a lot of podcasts was that there are unfortunately a number of distributors out there, or sales agents. A lot of times that's what they're called. That they kind of prey on indie filmmakers. They'll reach out and be like, I saw your film at this festival. It was so great. It's the best thing ever. We can offer you a distribution deal and all these things, and different strategies. It works in different ways, but ultimately what they do is they get you to sign your film away, and then they get it onto streaming platforms, but they don't pay you anything. So they just take whatever revenue comes in from it. And then you've signed this contract, so it's like hard to get out of and stuff like that. So I was really leery of that because I'd heard a lot of horror stories from these podcasts I listened to. So I was like, okay. And one good podcast, or a good company I'd heard of, was Indie Rights. And so I looked them up, and I found their website was really transparent. They just they kind of lay everything out, like all the things you need to do to submit to them, and then they let you know that filmmakers get 80% of the revenue and they take 20%. Streaming sites they submit to, all of that was just kind of on their website. And then I reached out to a couple filmmakers that I knew had distributed with them, that I'd heard on the podcast I listened to, and asked them what their experience was. And, they told me like pros and cons, but ultimately they corroborated all the information that's on the Indie Rights site. So I was like, okay, I feel like this is a good, this feels right. It seems good. 80% is a great amount of revenue. So yeah, that's how I decided to go with them. And then, so what they do is they have open submissions, so you can submit to them, just like fill out a form, send them your films, they can see it. And then they'll let you know if they accept you. And then once they accept you, you just have to send them the deliverables. So they'll give you a guide and all the stuff you need to do for the technical side of it. And those are things like, the poster, stills, the movie you have to add their logo to the front of it, your trailer, Subtitles, you have to send them. And they do accept non-English language films, but then you have to send them English and the original language. And then for English films, you have to do the English, and then if you want, you could do other languages. But yeah, so it's things like that. There's a couple things I'm missing, but get them the deliverables, and then once you get that done, as long as you did everything right, they will send you. They'll do all the work to get it onto streaming platforms and everything. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Did you end up with your deliverables, like especially your movie posters? Did you have to make like a bunch of different versions for them?
No, you only need one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Neat. Because I learned that apparently with Netflix, if you end up getting picked up by Netflix, they have you send like a bunch of different versions so that when their algorithm is like showing your film to people, they'll show the poster that most appeals to their algorithm. And I was like, that's crazy. But then I was like, I think it happened with me. It was Crimson Peak, and I did not see anybody but Jessica Chastain, and I was like, that's hilarious, because everyone else in my family that gets that, they always get what's his face? Tom Hiddleston. And I was like, stop. That's hilarious. And so I was curious.
Yeah.
You had to give them a bunch of different types.
Yeah, but I didn't know that. But that's really interesting. But I mean, Netflix is a whole other.
Oh my goodness.
Like they're so big. I think you have to be really big to be acquired by them, or work with a bigger distribution company. Indie Rights doesn't really work with them, but yeah, it makes sense. So
because I was wondering, because you are on like Tubi and you said Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was wondering if Amazon may have been similar, but it's okay.
No, Amazon, I mean, for Indie Rights, you send them 5 different stills, and that's kind of for the what they use for like the background part. There's like a poster on the background, like the rest of the screen to fill in. So yeah, you send 5 stills to Indie Rights, and then they'll send, I think they send 3 to Amazon, and Amazon just picks one. So
that's neat. I wonder if they target their audience as well.
I know. Yeah, I wonder about that too, or which one they like. I actually didn't. I was a little confused because Indie Rights makes it really clear in their deliverables guide that you need to pick one that you want on Amazon and label that for Amazon. So I did, and then when it came out, it was a different one, and I was like, I mean, this one's fine. Like, it's one of my still labeled. I was just kind of trying to figure out why, because they're so specific. Like, label 1 for Amazon, and then they told me later that they're like, oh yeah, we send 3 to Amazon, and they pick. So maybe you should
okay.
But
director's choice.
Right. So, yeah,
it's funny.
I had a question because you mentioned earlier that you have been writing for over 10 years. How did you get into film, or what brought you and what brought that curiosity?
Gosh, I think it's always like whenever I explain this, it's kind of like explaining how my mind works, but basically it's always when I mean, even from a really young age, I was always kind of fascinated by what I saw on TV, and in the sense that I wanted to like recreate it. Or when I was by myself, I was kind of imagining that I was like I was a newscaster, or I was like in an infomercial, like whatever I saw, like, or Star Wars when my parents had that recreating in my brain. And then, eventually getting to a point where I was like creating original stories. And I always like imagine conversations before I have them. It's like reimagining and stuff like that. And it's like practicing in my head, but I think that kind of naturally progressed into like screenwriting and writing films, because that's a lot of dialogue is a big part of it. So yeah, it was always that visual, and then I was always interested in writing. Like I wrote, I got my bachelor's in English before I went to film school, and so I wrote. That was all different types of writing that I did. I did nonfiction, fiction, poetry, a little bit of playwriting. I took some theater classes too, technical writing. Like it was just every kind of writing except for screenwriting, pretty much. So I've dabbled in all kinds of writing and storytelling, which I'm still really interested in. But I've always mostly most been interested in screenwriting, and so that was just the strongest pull, that visual element. And I find like now that I've primarily been screenwriting for like be hard to go back and try to write something like a fiction story, just because there's so much more description that you need when it comes to fiction when you're reading something versus like seeing it on screen. Where screenwriting by comparison is just so much more minimal. I think that works with my mind because I kind of get like annoyed with like describing a room or something.
Yeah.
When you're reading a book, you have to kind of imagine what that is. Like, oh my god, it's so boring, right? And so, just in a script, I'm just like, it's a normal sized bedroom with this and that, like couple details. And the rest
pass it off to the set.
Yeah, and sometimes even less detail, the better.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, or I can always come back to it. Sometimes when I'm writing, I sit there and I'm like, oh, how do I describe this room? And it's just like, just write that it's this room. You can come back to it, like, you know, when there's questions or when you're shooting. So. Yeah,
less detail, the less the budget looks at first look at the script. Exactly. And they're like, oh, okay, it's easy. It's just like a regular bedroom. Do whatever you want with that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be in a bedroom. It could be anywhere.
Right. Well, that's another thing too, that like the you know, when you're collaborating with the production designer, they'll probably ask you questions, but also having read the script, they'll know certain things about the character. Things that just kind of make sense that you don't necessarily have to script. It's going to make sense for the character, and that's going to be something that the production designer can bring their own creativity into as well. So, yeah.
In terms of the visual, this is going to be my last like hard-hitting question. In Cohabitation, I noticed like a lot of the colors were like very like monochrome, very dulled down, like very mellow. And I was wondering if that was intentional or how you used colors to like help deliver the story.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think thinking about color is something I want to be more conscious of when I'm directing going forward. But I had a production designer that she did a great job. I think she brought so much detail and stuff into it. But yeah, she did a lot of that, and we had a couple art assistants as well who also helped with the costumes and brought out, you know, some of those duller like colors, those monochrome that you're saying. Yeah, I mean, ultimately we just wanted something that we didn't want something super bright, or like anything that's really bright could be kind of seen as like really happy colors or whatever. So we want to kind of steer away from that because that's not what the story is about. Yeah, it's just kind of like setting that mood ultimately is what we were going for.
That's good.
Is Hi-Fi a real coffee shop? That was one thing. I was like, is it a real coffee shop? I don't want to go.
In Milwaukee, we went there, and they're very open-minded to filmmakers. I think we were looking for a coffee shop, and we knew someone else who would film there, and said they were really chill. And so, yeah, we just went.
Awesome.
One of the extras was actually like the guy who works there. So
that's cute.
That's good. That's good. I know. I was like, is that a real coffee shop? This was so cute. The neon signs and everything.
Yes. Then we didn't have to do much by way of production design. So if you're in Milwaukee, you should go to Hi-Fi.
That's cool. I shall. I will.
I have a question and it's kind of jumping back just a little bit. But I was told once that when you're making a movie, you make 3 different movies: the movie that you write, the movie that you direct, and then the movie that you edit. Mm-hmm. As you were kind of going through the process, did you find that to be true, or was it easier because you're kind of writing, directing, producing?
I think that's a great quote. I've heard that before, and I think that definitely makes sense, because there are certain things that we did change from the script, and that I didn't even necessarily rewrite. It's just like, why don't we change it to from this thing to that thing? And some things I did, I write it really quickly, so we had kind of a blueprint. But like, for example, the foot chase when Sarah's chasing Emily, that was originally going to be a car chase, and we were kind of like, that's kind of hard to do. Even though we had ideas without like showing it, but we could kind of sell it on screen, we're just like, that's still going to be really hard, like driving around, like all this stuff. So we decided to change that to a foot chase. And certain things we decided to cut out, or it's like, do we need this? Can we live without it? You know, stuff like that. And then, yeah, when you're directing, that's it's kind of some of what I was just talking about. Then editing, same thing. There's certain things that we just had to like figure out how to put together because we didn't have the footage, or it's like looking back, it's like, oh, I kind of dropped the ball. We should have filmed that, or, you know. So we got to kind of work with what we have and figure out, or it's like, oh, that performance, I wish we had something better, but this is the best we have. So how do we make look the best we can? Yeah, so that's how that process for me. Yeah, I mean, I had a hand in every process, but I think that quote really does ring true ultimately, that there 3 versions of it, and ultimately what matters is the final one. We all know. But.
I do have to give you props for the foot chase and pretty much all of the night scenes, because it seems to be like right now, especially in Hollywood, night scenes, dark scenes, you can't see anything. You're pretty much just listening to what's going on. But I could see what was going on. And it was like the first time in a while. So like I got to give you props for that. You had the lighting down really great for all of that, especially with like the dream sequences and when she was explaining what had actually happened. When she lost her patient. It was just so beautiful, that lighting, because it spotlighted what needed to be shown. And then, like I said, you could see everything. So thank you so much.
I'm glad. Yeah, that trend is getting a lot of people making fun of it, but it's true. It's like there's only so dark you can go before people just can't see anything. You got to have that balance. Like you can have it moody and dramatic without being almost completely dark. So yeah, we got to work on that.
That was funny. I see like Game of Thrones, all of their there's like an entire I think it was like a BuzzFeed article on like TV settings to put on in order to make so you can actually see, and I was like, that's crazy. Like, really?
That's so insane.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a little much to be having your audience do.
Well, then, because then, like, if you have any lights on, you can't even see the screen. It's like you have to watch it in complete darkness too.
Yeah.
Like I literally can only watch it at night. I can't watch it during the day.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's crazy. I saw like screenshots from the new Halloween movie, and they were pretty like flat dark. Like you just could not see anything.
Right.
Yeah.
On the bright side, it does make me feel a little good. I'm like, oh, okay, so I can get away with that then.
Yeah. It's kind of reassuring.
Another reason you should watch Cohabitation, because you can see all the scenes.
Exactly. Yes. So from
no guessing what's happening.
Exactly.
You know, you can actually see everything. It was very nice. I think I had one question, just more as like a personal one, I guess. But like, what was your like inspiration, or like why did you choose this story for this film, like this one to be a feature?
My first in film school, I was writing at Vancouver Film School, studying writing. So we did a lot of writing throughout the year, which was great. I wrote 2 features. So the first one is like not in good shape. Basically, if I ever go back to that story, I would change a lot. It really wouldn't be the same story. But then this was my second one, and I felt like it was really strong, strong story to start, and then like obviously did a lot of revisions and stuff that made it even better. So yeah, but I mean the inspiration for the story, I had a different kind of start when it came to roommates and drama and like mystery and all of that, and ended up like pitching it in my writing class, and it kind of like, it just didn't seem to have legs like that story, and so I won't get into it, but we kind of shifted, and they gave me some ideas like what if this and what if that, and kind of gave me some ideas on how we could change it, and so this is what it became. This is how I developed it into with their help, and so yeah, and for me, when it came to creating the story, I was really interested at the time in that classic like good versus evil, but also like how the things that happen, how we can either, we can kind of, become bitter and become, turn towards that evil path, or we can like choose good and still try to find the good in the world. And so it's kind of like that, the kind of classic conflict that I was interested in.
Yeah, I really liked the main conflict between those two characters, especially at the end when she's conflicted because she's like, okay, I was a paramedic, I'm not anymore, but like that still is where like her heart is, and then the other being like, you're a paramedic and I need to exact revenge because I called paramedics and they didn't help, and then having that like struggle of like, okay, but like, can I help you still out of this? And it was good. I liked it. It was very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you like that.
I think I'm a lot of the questions that I had.
I know. I think I asked all my questions. Whitney, do you have anything you'd like to end on?
What recommendations for movies would you have based off what kind of like inspired you when writing this?
When it comes to movies that I've watched like afterwards, Bringing Out the Dead is an interesting, strange movie, but that's kind of a good one. And then Single White Female is somewhat similar. Exactly. And a lot of people have brought that up. And I remember saying that when I was writing it too, like it's kind of like this. And some people have said that like in reviews and stuff that it's similar, which I do understand. I've seen it and I do understand, but I'm glad it's also like Cohabitation does stand alone. It's has its differences as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of Hard Candy. I don't know if you've seen that, but that was a movie that was recommended to me by a friend recently, because he was like, this is inspo for something I want to do like later. And then I was watching this and I was like, you know what? This is Hard Candy vibes. And so I guess as like another recommendation, if anyone's interested, check that one out too.
I didn't think of that, but that would make sense. I see the connection.
That's cool.
Yeah. Nice.
Especially the coloring, low key. The coloring like actually like really made me think of it, which I actually thought was like really cool. So
yeah, nice.
Yeah,
cool.
Okay, thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. It's been amazing having you on. I hope that when your next movie comes out, you'll be back on the podcast and we can all talk about it again.
Totally, yeah. Thank you guys for having me. This was super fun. And anyone,
definitely.
If you do check it out, if you rate and review, that helps us out a lot. So you can do that on Amazon or IMDb.